Well, hello everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the Intel IoT webinar, the second one of the series of 3 webinars. So I am Beatrice from Be My App. We are organizing this webinar with Intel. So let me introduce everyone who is participating in this webinar. So first we have Yorick, who is Intel representative. Then we have Dirk, who will be there to answer all your technical questions on IoT and on Edison. And we also have Zoltan Rendes, who is the founder of Cubilog. So he will present to you his startup. So how does this webinar works? You can ask all your questions via chat, and we'll try to answer them the best possible. Before giving the hand to Yorick, so he can start his presentation on IoT, I would like to ask you to answer a poll to know you better and maybe make more personalized webinars for next time. So it should open on your screen. I'll give you a minute to answer. Okay, so I will close the poll now. Don't forget that you can ask all the questions you want on the chat. And now I will give the hand to Yorick.
Thank you, Beatrice. Hey, yeah, my name is Yorick, Yorick Shedgin. I'm based in Belgium, and I'm in charge, actually, in Europe and EMEA more broadly, of our IoT innovation activities with inventors, startup, and makers. Today, what we want to cover in this webinar is essentially talk about some of the innovation out there. So I'll talk very briefly about some background around IoT and IoT innovation, but that's probably just a couple of minutes. Then we will hand over this webinar to Zoltan from Cubilog, and Cubilog have developed a very nice smart home device based on some Intel technology, and he'll get us through the details of how they developed that, the market, the ups and downs as they went through this. And then obviously we'll wrap up, and I think Beatrice has a last poll at the end of this. So this is the agenda for the webinar today. The IoT, so the Internet of Things, I don't think anyone debates that there is a huge opportunity there. The numbers that you see here, 50 billion connected devices by 2020, is an estimate from the analyst firm IDC. This is one of the numbers that runs out there. There's different numbers, but it doesn't really matter about whether it's 40 million or 60 billion. The number is really big, and also it's really going up exponentially, and that goes through all sorts of IoT verticals, from healthcare, smart cities, smart home, as we'll talk about with Cubilock, transportation. So it touches pretty much every sector of the industry and of our lives. The interesting bit to me about this IoT innovation and what's happening out there is that there's more and more of this innovation that comes from what I call this long tail of innovation. And this is essentially from makers to entrepreneurs, startups, even students, which have university programs that are really tailored at bringing them to the startup level. And a lot of the innovation comes from that. Now, I hope you didn't see that pop up, which was from my IT department. But anyway, sorry for that interrupt. So this innovation really comes from the startup and the entrepreneur versus more of the established companies. It doesn't mean that the established companies are not innovating. They're doing that a lot, but there's a couple of factors that make it easier and easier for all those startups to go and innovate. And you can look at it from a financial perspective with crowdfunding sources, for instance, from a sales perspective with online stores, but also from a hardware and software perspective with tools that are made much easier and building blocks that really make it easier for entrepreneurs to go and build up any sort of concept they have in mind. So before handing it over to Zoltan to talk about the Cubilock solution, I did want to share a bit of insight about a specific product that Intel has developed specifically for IoT innovation and specifically for going from production to quick prototyping to production. This product here is called Intel Edison. Some of you may have heard about that one. It's a very tiny compute module. You can almost think of it as a complete computer running Linux. It actually has dual-core CPU based on Atom, so this is the sort of processor that you find in tablets to give you a sense of the performance that you get. But it also has 1 gig of RAM. It has 4 gigs of local storage. It has all the connectivity in terms of 40 GPIO, so you can connect all the sensors with a microcontroller that will listen to the sensor data and only wake up the CPU when it's needed. And it has the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth Low Energy. So in terms of connectivity, you get a lot of things that you need for the IoT solutions. And all of that, which doesn't really come across on this slide, but it has about the size of an SD card. It's not an SD card format per se, but it's about that size. So really very tiny form factor that you can fit into a nice and sleek design at the end of the day. I'll talk quickly about this last slide from my perspective, which is talking about the expansion board, because I said the idea of this is really to go as quickly as possible from prototyping, well, ideation to quick prototyping to productizing. And in order to do this, well, obviously, when you go to the production level, then you have the Edison module that is ideal. But when you want to quickly prototype, we have a couple of expansion boards. The first one that people typically use for the first prototype is an Arduino expansion board. And I'm probably oversimplifying this, but think of it as playing with blocks, right? When you play with the Arduino concept. So it's very easy to connect sensors, load some piece of software with some demos, and get something done very quickly. And then I think Zoltan will dive more into this. But as you go from this first prototype to a more evolved prototype, and then eventually to a final product that you go to market with, you start using much smaller expansion boards, and eventually sometime building your own PCB that is really feature optimized for what you want to do. So with that, that was my short introduction. I do want to hand it over to Zoltan, and he will get us through the story about Cubilog as a startup, and also the product and how they made use of some of the products here.
Hello, my name is Zoltan Rendes, and hello from Budapest, Hungary. And I'm gonna quickly start my little presentation, but just before that, I give you a bit of a background on myself. I'm an ex-corporate senior executive, and before that, a war correspondent. I was working for companies like RTA Group, ProSiebens, and Heinz and Bertelsmann, big media firms, on marketing and communications side. After that, as a senior executive running part of Europe CE cluster, and I kind of got fed up, so I landed on Startup Planet by lifestyle design, changing from corporate to a more creative way of expressing your innovation and creativity. I've been part of 5 startups, 5 ventures, actually 4 out of the 5 was IoT, and 3 are still in play, which is the good part. So I also made some success, not like very big success, not like getting acquired by Google for billions, but some success at least. And why IoT is the buzzword of buzzwords these days? Of course, everything. If you open any blog, tech blog, it's going to be front page if a new IoT device is coming out. And I'm talking about consumer products now, and strictly try to intro to my Cubilog pitch and Cubilog presentation, is that what we see, and my vision on what's happening in the IoT is that there is, and I agree with Yorick on that, there's a lot of innovation, and most of the innovation is coming from startups. So and students and young entrepreneurs who really address a problem and try to remake something for the future which we had not connected before, and by connecting it, it actually serves us better and gives us more time, gives us more money to be spent on and spent with the things we love and the ones we love. So basically, that's, I think, the romantic idea of doing IoT startups. That's mine, actually. And but what I see is that corporate innovation, these biggies are kind of looking out for startups, and corporate innovation is dead. I think, but there is a reason for that. It's pretty hard to innovate in a corporate environment. It's very, you have to keep all the policies and compliance issues. In a startup, in a garage, it's 3 people. In a corporate system, it's 300 people. Cost is horrid. It cannot be covered, so there is no real big innovation coming out from corporates. Of course, there are exceptions, and most of the corporates are acquiring innovation, which is a good thing for startups, of course, or partnering up with startups. The market itself is really clustered with a lot of devices. Like, there are very useful devices, very nicely done devices, which actually really serve us good. Like, I would say Nest is a great example of that. A great piece of hardware, a very sexy piece of hardware, and a great backend to it, which actually serves us, saves us time and money, of course. And it really works, and it's a great thing that we can have that big data layer in our homes. But there are devices like Bluetooth, plant sensors, and all these, which will not be there even in 2 or 3 years. And then there are a lot of smart plugs and smart bulbs and all these which surround us now in our houses and homes. And we kind of love them. We are still amazed by the fact that we can control those from our mobile phones from anywhere. We kind of show up with it. And but sooner or later, there has to be an end of pushing out devices and pushing out communication protocols and not getting on the same page with the others. But these days, the big companies, and I'm talking about companies like Google or Apple, are kind of pushing their own protocols, want to gain territory in the market, in the space, in the IoT space, market space. And of course, there are companies like Smart Bulb is a great example in terms of IoT, that there was Philips Hue, very, very pricey piece of hardware for smart lights. And then GE came with a $25 smart bulb, and also with the GE Wink and the Link and whatever, pushing a huge budget behind it, huge marketing budget behind it, and kind of trolling Philips out from the US market. And today's news is that they have to recall all GE Links, which are actually the links for the smart bulbs, the links for the Winks, and they have to recall these because there was an update coming out which kind of rendered the devices useless. And that kind of resembles how IoT market is today, consumer market. I would say, and I know it's harsh, but these are like 0.6 and 0.7 and 8 devices, not 1.0 even. These big companies are trolling and, of course, making these products sexy with a lot of marketing money. But then when you open the app, you look at the app, it kind of reminds you that it was like 5 years ago when these apps were sexy. This is not sexy for today. And also look at the functions, no integration with anything. You kind of feel after, when the first like amazement wears out, you feel that you are left alone. There will be no updates coming, or when there is an update, maybe it renders your hardware useless, and you kind of feel that it's $25 instead of $100. But that's what the big companies do. But meanwhile, they generate a lot of users, of course, with that marketing budget. And those users are kind of, yes, left alone. One day you buy something from one brand, next day you buy something from another brand. And if you can wait and pray for IFTTT integration, but if that doesn't come for a long, long time, like Wemo LEDs didn't have IFTTT integration for a long, long time, then you cannot integrate it into your home automation ecosystem. So let me give you a pitch about what we do with Cubilog. Cubilog is a universal home automation remote for smart and non-smart things. 5 years ago, you probably didn't have any smart devices in your home. Today, you might have some, and in a year, you are going to be surrounded with all these smart, not that smart, and of course, with your old, dumb devices. Everybody's pushing a protocol on you. Everybody wants to make you a slave of one brand and one platform. And you're going to end up with all these remote controls and apps on your home screen, and you're just going to be in a smart chaos. You cannot use these. This is not going to be efficient for you. This is not going to make your life comfortable. But don't worry, we got you covered. Cubilog, one hub to rule them all, one dashboard to bind them all. And when I mean we can connect up everything, we can really connect up everything. There are like very dumb devices, your old devices, beloved old things around you, like an old thermostat, garage door opener, or your garden sprinkler. We can connect them up with our wired protocol, with our wired module. And there are not so smart, semi-smart devices like smart bulbs, smart plugs, and all these with a communication protocol. We can connect those up via communication protocol. We cover all communication protocols existing. And of course, there are the very smart devices like the Nest family. We integrate those via API. Cubilog is available in 3 versions. Basically, the modular version, which is the shiny metal thing with little cubes which magnetically connect up. We have the kit, the combo box, which you can see the white little box branded with Cubilog, and of course, we have a white label solution. Everything is up in the cloud, your dashboards, your rules, your scheduler. You can access them from any connected device and also from delegated apps or for your favorite smartphone brands. This is a multi-brand demo wall which we show at exhibitions. It shows the enormous integration capabilities of Cubilog. Like you can see all the smart bulb brands, all the smart plugs, garden sprinkler, on the like bottom left corner, the plant sensors, and also an old thermostat, a garage door opener, old ventilation systems, and of course the Nest family. So it shows that we can basically give you teamwork instead of individual devices. And when we start, when I say teamwork, that these devices will start to work for you as a team, and they will bring you new experiences. I really mean new experiences for you. Let me show you a little teaser video we made for Cubilog, which kind of shows you how it can help you in your daily life with one use case. And why it's important, because this is really not the future. This is now. This is happening now. The teamwork of devices is actually something which is there for now, and it's very important for the future, even more important for the future. But there are still, like, my home has a lot of smart devices, and every day I'm facing the problem that these devices don't want to work together, and they are made not to work together. A bit about the market we are on. It's the 1.9 trillion US dollar market. I don't know how many zeros are behind 1 and 9, but it's a lot. The connected home market by 2020 is 7 billion US dollars, and Cubilog is addressing a relevant market of 200 million US dollars, which is also a pretty big market for us. Of course, competition. There are a lot of companies working in this space, doing different kind of platforms and devices and also backends and front ends. No one does what we do, of course. That's something you've heard from a startup. What we do is basically an end-to-end solution. So we give you the hardware, we give you the software, and everything in between, up in the cloud, plus the big data analytics layer too, and it's totally customizable by the user or by the corporate partner who will use it at the end. And then a bit about the business. We are not a B2C company. We are not doing consumer devices. All that is planned that at one point we're going to do a web shop for, like, prosumers, as they call them. I think guys like yourselves to kind of play around with the hardware as a B2C product and kind of like make new applications for it. But what we do is a B2B2C model to help telcos and utilities and integrators and also manufacturers to tap into new revenue sources in the IoT space. For instance, bundled automation devices, data service, selling extra data services, or putting smart metering solutions on Adrenaline, and many more. So you have to imagine a toolkit for B2B partners on the software side, on the hardware side, a modular toolkit which can, from which we can create a solution, an application for our partner really easily. And even we have a non-branded user experience which can be integrated by the B2B partner, and all that will be coming in a box. Everything will be migrated to their private cloud from our cloud, and they will have control of everything, all the delegated apps and everything included from A to Z. So that's what we do, and that's our business model. This is our timeline. We started out the company in 2013, and Cubilog was first introduced. The first very, very basic prototype was introduced at the Deutsche Telekom Innovation Contest in Berlin in end of 2013, which we actually won, shared main prize. And we had our first pilot and an alpha version of the hardware just a year ago. And since that, we've been kind of touring. We were participating in Pioneers, Vienna, also a lot of exhibitions, Coden, Cebit, and we are planning to launch the product in Q3 this year. And we are running pilots with these players. That's basically the first logo is Magyar Telekom, Hungarian Telecom, Graphy, which is a smart deco provider, a smart office deco provider, and Deutsche Telekom also. This is the team. I'm in the middle, and we have a I think a great team and a great coder team as well. A very, very enthusiastic coder team. They basically live 24/7 in the word of Cubilog, and they are very enthusiastic about the product. We are running like a pre-market venture round, VC round. We have been seeded up to 600,000 euros by a VC, a local VC actually, and private investors. And also we are looking for 800,000 now in for our VC round. And you see how we use the fund. This is your live take control. So that's about Cubilog. And now I want to talk a bit about how we develop the hardware, and I think that's going to be pretty interesting for you. And let me share another presentation about that. It's basically when you go into hardware development, it seems to be that you're very brave, and of course you turn out to be very bold. Because you know all the mistakes that have been made. You've seen a Roku box burning on the market after a great Kickstarter campaign, and all these stories. But you are still brave enough to enter hardware development, even with a complicated project like Cubilog. And but we were kind of brave enough, and then we realized kind of bold enough to enter into hardware development. And we kind of thought that we are not going to make mistakes made before, but we made all of them. That's how it is, I guess, for hardware development. Software is, I wouldn't say easy, but way easier. It's way easy to plan a software project. It's way easy to speed up elements of a software project. In hardware, you have to go from iteration to iteration, find the best parts to be integrated for our PCBs, design the best PCB, be careful about the size of your PCBs, be careful about the size of the whole design of the hardware application, and also make a sexy hardware which is kind of appealing to consumers, even if it's just a combo box or it's a flashy aluminum coated device. And we had the idea to make it modular, which even if you look at the combo box from inside, it is modular. It has the PCBs like stack into their slots, like those little metal thingies stacked on each other, like you can see on this picture. We wanted to make it very easy for the user. So imagine that these little boxes, slices of a cube, if you put them into a bag just randomly, and you shake the bag, they would get attached to each other by magnets, and they would start to work. So it's that easy for a user. We wanted to make it an effortless installation for the user in terms of hardware, because no one wants to mess around the hardware you buy. So that was a big challenge. Of course, we made a lot of compromise for that design, and because we needed to compromise iteration by iteration. It turned out that it cannot be smaller, and we have to be more careful about the magnets, because they can like interfere with some of the communication protocols. So we have to use very, very light magnets, but still they have to be strong. And all those little things which usually we didn't think that that was the big challenge in it. And of course we got to a point when that kind of shows what the first modules we made for Z-Wave, Bluetooth, the wired I/O, the power, the GSM, and the Wi-Fi. But what we were facing, that of course everything is up in the cloud, that's a beautiful thing. We communicate with the cloud via Wi-Fi or via GSM, LTE, whatever, you name it. But what happens if you lose connection to the cloud? What happens if there is a big storm and something happens to the antennas nearby? That happens every time there are severe storms, even in Europe now. And so we needed a base module, and we needed a base module with the power battery module. So we needed to integrate something into the battery module, which would serve as a base module and do local computing. And that was a very, very hard task. We were looking for a solution. We were kind of trying to dig up something, but everything we were looking at mini computers. I even traveled to some startups to look at their stuff. Like I've been in Tel Aviv and San Francisco, mini computer manufacturers who make like really, really small solutions for computing. But I took back samples and we tried to integrate them, and it was not good. And it was, of course, for mass manufacturing, it was just not applicable for mass manufacturing. So then kind of life came to our help with Intel pushing out Intel Edison. And of course, it kind of kills all our problems. It has Bluetooth and Wi-Fi minus two modules on the stack. It has, it can do local storage, local computing, local rule execution, and everything, which we need when you lose the capability to connect up to your cloud. So we started to integrate into that, and I have to tell you, I didn't tell that in the intro, though I promised that I will, that I'm not a tech person. I'm more on the business side of startups, but I can tell you it was a really easy integration. Like I talked a lot about this with our CTO, and that this was one of the flawless integrations we did. And we had way bigger problems with like, for instance, the GSM. There was one of the modules which was just not working when we tried to iterate it, and for months and months it was not ready, and not ready, even with Deutsche Telekom on our side helping us in the integration. We couldn't cover it for a long time. Intel Edison was pretty easy, and this was the first version first version of PCB we did, and we worked with you see the Cube 1 prototype Edison 001. It couldn't fix into the packaging of the metal, shiny metal thingy first, but then the next prototype actually fit into you can see that this was this year when we did this, and actually we used all functionalities, or most of the functionalities, even the RF capability, and of course there was and the USB charger. You can see all that. I'm not going to read it, and this is version 3. We are working on this one. It's basically I think it's going to be close to the final mass manufactured design, how we want to use this, and it actually fits in perfectly and works perfectly with Intel Edison, and it kind of Intel Edison straightened a very, very, very complicated line, and when we were getting chips from everywhere and like playing around with these mini computers, we always had the problem that even if they have the capability of doing computing, the company who's manufacturing them is not a big company, and they will not be able to keep this on the market, to survive on the market. Like, think about startups like the Spanish startup Zolercia, Infinite Hardware or something. They make chips for IoT, but they are a startup. They will either be acquired by someone or will go out of business, and to be integrated into a mass product. And of course, Intel has a great tradition of doing the best chips on this globe. And I'm sorry if anyone doesn't agree, then please say so. But I've worked with Intel on several projects. I actually had a startup which partnered up with Intel, and I think Intel Edison is kind of like the good tradition of Intel chips. It just addresses a problem, and it came out, and I just have to say it came out of the blue sky. Like, for a long time, we had the feeling that Intel is not addressing the IoT space. And then one day it was announced, the next day it was out already, could be ordered from Amazon. And it came out of really from the blue sky to help us in that. And we know that Intel Edison will be a chip which will be there in 2 years from now, maybe in a different version, but it will be there. And also, we know that Intel is capable of delivering this chip for hundreds and millions of devices. And that's when you build something which is actually a platform over platforms and has a hardware part, that's very important to only use parts on the PCBs which are not from very innovative startups, which are from companies which actually have a solid background of mass production and will be capable of addressing your needs. And even when we got into the Intel Edison and how quickly we integrated it, I think we were one of the first solutions who could actually demo a home automation product with Intel Edison, and we are really proud of that, and we really like the Intel Edison chip too. So that's what I wanted to tell you about, and you can see our CTO's name here, who is actually, if you have some very deep technical questions, then he's going to be your guy to answer those. So what we discussed with the organizers, that if you send those questions to the organizers, then will be forwarded to Tom, our CTO, and he will be answering your deep technical questions about Kubernetes. Move back to this slide. Yes. Okay. All right, that was it. So I think now back to, I guess, questions.
Hey, Beatrice, can you hand over the screen to myself?
Yes, yes. Of course.
Thank you. Hey, thanks so much, Zoltan. This was very insightful, and I liked very much going through the story, right? Not only on the technical side, but also how you get started as a startup, as an entrepreneur, when you get such an idea, and also sort of challenges that you need to face, also from a business perspective. That was very insightful. Thanks very much for that. I did want to close with showing you just 2 links where you can find more information. One link is maker.intel.com, and this is where you'll find most of the product-related information, so where you can find Edison, how you get started with Edison. You also have project gallery, so you can see what some other developers have done with this. And the second website is more from a software perspective. So what is the software environment to go and develop? Where can I get some sample codes to do some quick prototyping? So this website is software.intel.com/IoT. And I think with these 2 websites, you have a lot of the things you need to get started. Other than that, obviously, feel free to contact us. So myself, Yorick Shedgen. It's very simple, yorick.shedgen@intel.com. And with that, I will hand it over back to Beatrice, who I think had a closing poll for this webinar.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Yorick. Yes, I have a last question for you guys about the what you thought about this webinar, basically. So I'm launching the poll now, so you can answer it on the screen. Also, Zoltan, I think there are some questions for you on the questions panel.
I'm looking at those right now.
If you want to.
And how can I invest in Cubalog? Well, get my contact from Beatrice, and you can. And you're actually running around now, so that's I think that's a very, very actual, right on time question. And I'm just going back to the top of it, and I see one. Silvio is asking a question: where do you see the end of home automation? Suppose one morning I decide to not drink coffee, but it is already brewing. Well, I think there will be no end to home automation. I think the thing is that we will have to take control. So as much as the last like 5 years was about the rise of the machines, I think this next 5 years will be about the rise of the human. So I think if we can take control over our devices, we can choose if we want to drink coffee or tea. So nothing will be fully automated. It will depend on us. As we get educated on our devices, as we know more and more possibilities, how we can use these devices around us, how we can use them as a team, we will use them better, and we will have a lot of time for other things rather than dealing with programming a timer when we leave the home, or pushing buttons on coffee machines. We can do better things. So I think as much as I know the concerns about home automation and cloud and all that, I think at one point it will make us happier if we get over the chaos. But we as users also have to learn a bit, because these are new things, and some people are not, like some users of course are not very cautious with their home automation devices, and of course if they can start to have privacy issues, sharing too much, and I think we have to be very careful about how social media and home automation space meets, and what do we share with other people, because there are good things, like you can, like your grandma can share her like vital monitoring, and if she's sick, you can actually get alerted if something goes on wrong with her, and that's a good thing. But also you can share it accidentally, and you share control over your locks, your heating, or your lights. That can be, a funny thing for a hacker to play around with you. So I think we just have to be cautious what we let into the house, but I think the IoT space, and especially the home automation space, will be completely different and way less chaotic in 2 years. I think a lot of brands and a lot of devices will just fail on the market. A lot of communication protocols will not be used, and of course smarter and smarter devices will come, which will use the big data layer and analytics layer for you, and put that to use for you. So I think that I hope that was the question about, but that's what I think about that. And I'm looking at the other questions.
Okay. Thank you very much, Zoltan. I think we're sort of past the time that we had initially. So Zoltan, I don't know if there's a last question that you wanted to take.
No, I think most of these are not in the Cubilog platform. I answered this one. Philip is asking, is how open is the Cubilog platform? And we are planning to open it up very soon after initial market launch. So we are planning to give this to the users and to the end users too. And as I told you before, we are planning to launch a website for a prosumer product, which is the shiny metal Cubilog, modular Cubilog, to give people who are more advanced in home automation an opportunity to play around with it and actually develop applications which can be sold even on our cloud platform with all the pre-made templates we will have up there for different tasks. So it will be open at one point.
Very good. Hey, thanks very much, Zoltan. Thanks everyone for participating. I hope it was of interest to all of you. But by the look of the poll, I think it was to a large majority of you guys. So thanks again, and stay tuned.
Just one thing, can you turn off the birds? Someone said. Okay, good. I cannot turn off the birds. That's my answer to that. Just sorry about that, Yuri.
All right. Bye, everyone.
So thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.